Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining our October Florida Broker Roundtable on a SWOT analysis for your business, hosted by our Florida broker, Robert Milligan. Before we begin, I do want to remind everyone of a few tools that we have here at Allison James. First, I want to remind everyone about our agent referral map. When you go to the referrals section on your Allison James University dashboard, you will see a link for the agent referral map. Now, this map is not only a great way to see all the areas in which Allison James has agents located, but you can also use this map to refer any clients to any other Allison James agent. Keep in mind that this map is opt-in only. Therefore, if you do not see your name on this map and you would like to be included, please go ahead and email us at support@ajicorporate.com. Now, speaking of referrals, keep in mind that if you are receiving a referral from an outside brokerage, you will need to provide them with a W-9. You can find the Allison James W-9 and many other useful forms under the corporate forms section of Allison James University. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started with our Florida Broker Roundtable. Remember, if you have any questions during this presentation, please go ahead and type them in the questions box of your GoToWebinar control panel, or if you're joining us live on Facebook, please go ahead and comment on the video below. And we will go ahead and answer all your questions at the end. I will now go ahead and pass it over to Robert. Good afternoon, Robert.
Thank you, Tori. Good afternoon to you also and everybody joining here today. And I'm really excited to share this topic with you because this might be something that you've been familiar with in your past and participated in, or maybe this is a completely new topic for you, because this is kind of more of a bigger corporate type exercise that I see a lot in strategic planning sessions. And so, if this is your first time being exposed to this information, it's very simple, it's very easy to use, and it's very effective. And I'll just look forward to sharing some ways that you can begin implementing this practice. So, of course, we're here today to talk about the strategic planning technique called SWOT, and SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And you can structure your format however you like. Whenever you're compiling this information, you can just make a simple list, maybe you use bullet points, whatever makes you happy, doesn't really matter. But for me, what I enjoy doing is drawing two intersecting lines in the middle of the page, which effectively creates 4 quadrants, and I label each of those quadrants with its respective categories: strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So I have a few suggestions before we get into all the specifics, but and I'd like to first, if possible, mention that I think it's really useful to enlist the help of others. And what I mean by that is just those people around you that know you, and they'll be truthful with their input. And we can all get stuck in our own business sometimes, and it really helps to have somebody else's perspective, so long as you know that they're going to be honest to give you good input about what your weaknesses are, especially. And so as much as you can get others to participate, I think it's great. And the second real advantage of that, I think that whenever you get several people together, all focusing on the same purpose, it just creates an additional heightened level of creativity. And the other thing that I recommend is changing the scenery as much as you possibly can to encourage creative thought. And what I think should be avoided if possible is sitting at your desk where you may feel too familiar and you're not having that creative flow, or of course there's a lot of distractions in our office, at our desk, whatever. So I've done several mini strategic planning sessions in the past by inviting some of my distinguished pals, as I call them, and we'll get together, maybe have a lunch at an upscale restaurant where I'll treat as a reward for their willingness to participate with me. But also at a nice place, at a nice restaurant, it puts us in a mindset of success. And for me, I'm a big believer in just believing in infinite possibilities and not limiting your success and limiting what's possible. So whatever the case is, I do encourage you to do whatever you can to put yourself in the optimal surrounding and get your physiology primed for creative thought. You don't want to be hungry, you don't want to be thirsty, you want to be able to sit and hang and focus. And sometimes it takes a little bit to warm yourself up and prime yourself into a place where you can step out of your business and step out of your own way and think creatively about truly what your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats actually are. So now on to some specifics about the analysis itself. It's interesting how, you know, different that everyone is despite us all being in the same industry. And so this is a very individual exercise. For instance, a more creative person may have a lot of marketing and social media strength, but, you know, have some weaknesses in contract law, which of course could obviously be the exact opposite for another one of our peers here. You know, somebody else could be great at law and contracts, but not so great at the creative stuff like marketing. So we'll all have our own personal strengths and weaknesses, and it's going to be unique for each of us. So, you know, there's no cheating, there's no need to copy. You know, I don't have the right answers, and vice versa. You know, we're all unique, and this is just a good exercise to learn more about ourselves and ultimately create a little bit of a plan and a roadmap for the future. A lot of people use this type of exercise to create, you know, like a 12-month plan that can obviously be updated during the course of the year or revisited once a year. So, you know, it's great if you're able to be self-aware and you're really able to know where your personal abilities lie. I think that the best thing that I would be able to do right now that provides you some values would be to list some different functions of our job as a realtor, you know, as a memory jogger for you, so you can write down some of these ideas and rate how proficient you are, or maybe how weak you are and need to focus on some of these areas to improve. So I thought, you know, in terms of speaking of strengths and weaknesses, I'd just kind of list off as a memory jogger for you a few things. And there are some general subjects that, you know, we all are subject to just being human beings in general, and then I'll list some more industry specific ones. But, you know, for some of the general topics, you know, maybe a good thing to ask is how organized of a person you are. You know, that can be a strength or a weakness. How do you rate your time management, problem solving, your work-life balance, your emotional intelligence, which basically means how well do you relate to other people? You know, how do you empathize with them? Do they feel like you're really listening? Your physicality, and might seem kind of odd, but I think your physicality is important because your body is basically a machine that delivers energy to your customers. And so we all need to keep our bodies primed for success and improve our physical state constantly, no matter how that relates to our own unique physicality. So that, you know, even if you're a person that runs triathlons, you know, there's always an opportunity to improve. So I think the main thing is that we just always look for ways to improve. And then also spirituality, and again, that without getting, you know, too far in the weeds on that one, the metric that I use for spirituality basically is just that you feel authentic and open and worthy for whatever success that you deserve that comes your way, that basically there's nothing that you're ashamed of and that you're hiding that, you know, potentially is holding you back from your success that you haven't already dealt with. So, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean any specific practices or anything like that. So those are some of the general topics that I think it's smart to be self-aware of and to rate yourself. You know, maybe a 1 through 10 system, and you know, if you're less than a 5, put it as a weakness. If you're more than a 5, you know, maybe categorize it as a strength. And then for our own industry-specific memory joggers, you know, some ways that you can rate yourself. And this is not a comprehensive list, by the way. I'm just trying to, you know, give you some ideas, basically. But you know, a thing that you could ask is how competent that you feel with your purchase contracts. You know, also the listing agreements. Or how strong are you at customer acquisition? And that is a different question in my mind. You know, how strong you are at acquiring buyers versus how strong that you are at acquiring sellers. You know, maybe you do a lot of buyer side transactions, but you want to get better at balancing out your business and having more listings. Also, customer retention, customer communication, and the big pitfall that I see there is primarily on the listing side, where, you know, of course, it's possible to list somebody's house, and there's a lot of energy and enthusiasm at the beginning of that relationship, but then weeks go by, months go by. You know, do you have a good system in place where you're proactively communicating with your seller at least weekly at a minimum to keep them apprised of what's going on, you know, what you're doing to market your business, or market their house, because if you're not telling them what you're doing each week, they're just assuming that you're doing nothing. so I think it's important to rate yourself how well you're doing with customer communication, customer accessibility. How easy is it for customers to reach you? How do you rate your personal marketing? How do you rate the way that you market your own listings? How do you rate yourself on social media? your own personal website. I would say, how do you rate yourself on your online track record? Meaning, you know, your reviews on your real estate portals like Zillow, Realtor.com. Those are. I've actually had a conversation with one of our realtors earlier this morning that, you know, I feel like if somebody leaves a positive review for you on one of those portals, or preferably all of those portals, that is more important than physical currency. It's better than somebody giving you $1,000 tip is them leaving a positive review for you on Zillow, because that is what absolutely contributes to your business growing. How do you feel about your physical signage? Is there opportunities to improve it, sharpen it? Your overall tech proficiency? Your understanding of finance? How do you feel about your team of third-party service providers, such as inspectors, lenders, title? You know, because that is also a very direct reflection of you and your business. If you encourage your customers to work with a lender that does an outstanding job and an inspector that does an outstanding job, you know, that is a direct reflection of your business. So if you don't have those people, definitely create those relationships. How do you feel about your listing presentation? Your daily prospecting habits? And so, you know, those are again just some ideas that are mostly dealing with your personal strengths and weaknesses. Those, of course, are going to be different for everybody, and this is, you know, like I said, not meant to be a comprehensive list. The things that I just mentioned are just some possible suggestions to get your creative brain thinking in this direction of where are some areas that you're strong, what are some areas that potentially you could use a little bit of improvement in. And so next, we'll try to switch gears here and focus on your opportunities and threats. And I think that it's important to distinguish that I don't give a lot of power or energy to threats that are outside of my control. And for instance, the market itself is a threat, but it's also an opportunity. And either way, it's outside of our control. So Warren Buffett, when speaking about the market, said that the market is always good for some and bad for others. It's our job to make sure that we've positioned ourselves in a way that's good for us. So in that type of positioning is what we're trying to create for, you know, to create a plan for in this sort of an exercise. The plan that we create in relation to external forces we have no control over is the difference between success and failure in most cases. And another one of my favorite books by Napoleon Hill, the author of the classic book Think and Grow Rich, said that you can never be more successful than your plan is sound. And a modern adaptation is from Tony Robbins, who said that if you plan to see the sunset and you spend all of your time running east, you need a better blueprint. So, you know, these are just some concepts and some principles that are very true to me, and it's simple, but, you know, none of us know the future, but this exercise is meant to help create the best plans that we're capable of. And then, of course, we'll go back and we'll update these plans regularly as we progress through the year. So for opportunities and threats, this is going to be highly personalized again, because improving in some of the weaknesses that we've already identified might be some of your best opportunities. And some other opportunities may be developing a new geographic niche, such as a waterfront or golf course communities, maybe developing a new personal niche, such as working with doctors, maybe bankruptcy or probate, and networking with all the respective attorneys in those fields. Could be committing to a farm, to farm an area and becoming known as a neighborhood specialist. Maybe another opportunity could be adding staff, such as an assistant or a buyer's agent, to start building your business, maybe growing a team. Maybe for those of you who are not already aligned with us, it could be switching brokerages, preferably to Allison James. So, you know, just a convenient example that if you're elsewhere, might be time for you to make a change to Allison James. So for threats, you know, you've got your competition, of course, but I recommend thinking of ways that your competition is superior to you and then working to address those deficiencies. Because one thing I learned a long time ago is there's nothing special about special people. You know, usually people that are achieving at a high level, they're just disciplined to become a master at their craft, whatever that is. They're willing to do the same repetitive thing over and over and over in the effort to, you know, eventually achieve mastery in that subject. So, you know, it's not bad to think about the ways that your competition is superior to you, as long as you have the belief system that whatever they're doing, you know, eventually with enough, passion and commitment and determination, that you can also deliver that same level of value to your customers. I do recommend not comparing yourself to others too much, because it will make you miserable and nobody is perfect. So, you know, the goal here isn't to be the best version of the top agent in your town. Nobody needs another top agent that's in your marketplace. They need the best version of you. So lastly, without going into a big laundry list of threats, because it's going to be a little bit different for each of us, and it's going to be mostly hypothesized based on the weaknesses that you've already went through and listed. But I do recommend not putting very much fearful energy into the things that you cannot control. So, for instance, we all wonder about Zillow or Google or Amazon and what their intentions are with real estate and how this all looks 10 years from now. But I encourage you to focus on the variables that you can control and, just be the best version of yourself that you're capable of being. And, it doesn't make any sense to be super fearful about the broader industry disruptors. I mean, you got to keep an eye on the ball and be aware of those things, but those things are going to happen, and there's always going to be a way to pivot and a way for us to continue adding value to individuals. And so to me, I think it makes a lot of sense that the worst, if you think about what the worst things are that can happen, the worst thing that can happen really isn't so bad if you think about it. And to me, I think that the worst things that could happen if the internet, really significantly changes with what's technologically possible, where more and more, dots are being connected with our customers. I think that, the worst thing that I imagine would be a somewhat lower commission rate with fewer functions being performed by the realtor. But, in my mind, at least, it's very difficult to imagine the realtor role being completely eliminated. I don't see this changing into a situation where it's kind of like the travel agent. I think that buying a house is a little bit more than booking a cruise or booking a plane ticket. So, in my mind, at least, I feel like the realtor role is quite safe. And I've, already been around long enough. This is my 17th year as a realtor. And I've, during that course in time, lived through some very wonderful and very terrible markets. And I've been around long enough to see that in a bad market, all the creative programs, all the discount programs, all that kind of stuff goes out the window, because when it's difficult to sell a house, sellers are eager to pay whoever they can, however much it takes to make the house sell. So, whenever the market gets more challenging than it is now, I expect a lot of the progressive stuff to kind of take a backseat. So hope that gives you some good info to ponder, and this is a good starting point, I hope, for you to begin working on your SWOT analysis. That's all your own, but again, it's not meant to be a very comprehensive thing, but just a way for you to go through a little bit of a memory jogger process. And then there's some great resources online as well. If you look, just read some blog articles and stuff, how to do your own SWOT analysis. I think it's really great. But I think the most important part of the process is trying to enlist other people to participate in it with you, because you'd be absolutely shocked how perceptive that others are, and when everybody's focusing on your business, because you might assume some people they don't understand things from your vantage point, with all the nuances that you understand about your business, and you think they might not be able to contribute in a big way, but oftentimes that's the best part about it, that they're looking at your business with a outsider's perspective, and everything's new to them, and they notice things that you're not going to notice. So I think it's a very, very rewarding exercise to go through, and I also do this for different business entities that I'm in control of. So it might be smart for you to take one afternoon and focus on one aspect of your life, and then another afternoon to focus on another one. But like I said, it's been a very rewarding process for myself, and of course we're here to help with whatever you could possibly think of that you need help for. If you've got some questions here today that you'd like for us to try to address live, we'd be glad to do that. You can reach out to me on my cell phone or email anytime.
Perfect. Thank you, Robert. It doesn't look like we have any questions right now, but you guys always know that you can always reach out to Robert, as you said, via phone or email. He can be reached at flbroker@ajicorporate.com. And that is it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on another Florida Broker Roundtable. And, of course, thank you to Robert for all of your wonderful insight, as always, and putting together such a great topic and presentation. This is a topic that I was really excited for, and you definitely did not disappoint. So,
well, thank you, Tori.
Yeah, well, we will see you all next month for another Florida Broker Roundtable. Thanks again for joining, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.